There's Nigel Farage.
It's all very disappointing. You know, the SNP's position before was very principled. They wouldn't vote on English education. They wouldn't vote on fox hunting, for argument's sake. And now it's pretty clear they will. I guess they want to rile the English as much as they possibly can. And as for the Conservative position, well, you know, I remember after that referendum, you know, Cameron being very, very clear that there was going to be a proper change, English votes on English laws. And the only way that can work is you have to say to Kirsty Blackman, you haven't got the option on this. This is an English-only matter, and we will not allow Scottish MPs to vote. And if we do that, it'll be much fairer, in my opinion, all round.
And that will be the Speaker's role.
Yes, it would.
OK. We
Now,
need to move on.
The Governor of the Bank of England, Mark Carney, promised that his speech last night addressing Britain's place in the EU would be a bit of a yawner. Well, it can't have been that boring, as it's managed to make the front pages of several of this morning's papers. Mr Carney said the evidence suggested Britain's economy had prospered because of UK's membership of the EU. Let's have a look.
In some respects, the UK is the leading beneficiary of the famous four freedoms set out in the 1957 Treaty of Rome. These, of course, are free movement of goods, services, labour and capital. So although the UK's dynamism is the product of many factors, including deep human capital, well-developed physical infrastructure, a competitive fiscal regime, and the integrity of the rule of law, the EU has arguably bolstered it by establishing the world's largest single market.
But Mr Carney went on to say that there needed to be reforms in our relationship with the EU to protect the UK from financial shocks. Earlier today, George Osborne, the Chancellor, appeared before the Treasury Select Committee, where he welcomed Mr Carney's remarks.
I agree with the speech the Governor made, the analysis he presents, which is that European Union membership has helped create a more open and dynamic UK economy, but, and there's a crucial but, developments in the Eurozone mean that we do need safeguards for the United Kingdom.
George Osborne there. Nigel Farage, he's clearly pleased with Mark Carney's intervention. Are you?
What Mark Carney meant was that the common market had been a good thing, that opening up, getting rid of tariffs, which had plagued the Western world post-World War II, getting rid of those tariffs had made our economy more open, of course. But that's not the same thing as a political union with a flag and an anthem that wants an army and everything else. But he also did say there are potential threats coming down the line to this country. And do you know what? Actually, I take the view that was a very balanced speech.
You do?
Yeah, I think people from both sides take from it what they want, and in a week's time, we will have forgotten about it.
Right, oh, right, OK. You say it was balanced. You don't think he overreached himself then in this? I mean, it is a political debate, after all.
Yeah, it's a political debate, but no, he made it clear that there are threats coming down the line, and that just, you know, that can mean legislation.
Well,
it can mean the Eurozone integrating more deeply and us effectively being dragged in its wake. So no, I think he said something that, you know, all sides can take something from that.
Right, OK. I mean, he did say the EU membership, so this is EU membership, not just common market, reinforces the dynamism of the UK economy. A more dynamic economy is more resilient to shocks, can grow more rapidly without generating inflationary pressure or creating risks to financial stability, and can also be associated with more effective competition. Well, I can see why George Osborne was pleased, because in a nutshell, he is saying our membership of the EU, in his mind and within his mandate, has been a good thing.
Well, there are some people that deliberately conflate the ability to trade with each other free of tariff and to move capital around with membership of the European Union.
And is he one of those?
Well, that's what he appeared to say last night. Actually, they're two very different things.
Well, I mean, I would suggest to you Mark Carney knows what he's doing and what he's talking about. He's not a stupid man. And taking from that, it seems to me that everything that he mentioned in that speech really was done on the premise of the UK staying within the EU. Well, he did make those concerns clear, but they were, again, sort of a negotiating
He's an
stance.
establishment figure. You would expect a figure like that to say things that were broadly in support of the status quo, but warning there are risks coming down the track. I genuinely don't take great significance from it.
Right. I mean, well, you say you don't take take it as significant. But I mean, he is the governor of the Bank of England.
Yes.
I mean, one might say you don't get a much more important and greater.
And who appointed him? Who gave him the job?
Yes, but he could have given a speech, or actually not given a speech at all. I mean, is it his duty, as he said, to give his assessment of the overall impact of EU membership on the UK economy?
Mercifully, the government's attempt to throw out of the window all the purdah rules that we think are sound and sensible during election periods, mercifully, he won't be able, a week before the referendum when it comes, to make some outrageous statement. And if this is all we get from the Governor of the Bank of England during this debate, I'll be very happy.
Right, OK, so if it's limited. What about if he comes back again later on, or do you think he shouldn't? Would you be warning Mark Carney to stay away from this debate now he's made this speech?
Well, it's supposed to be an independent central bank, and if there was something that he genuinely thought was shocking, he should say so. But I think the way this debate is developing, the way this referendum is developing, all the things I expected the Remain side to say, they're now having great difficulty in saying, namely that if we weren't part of the European Union, we wouldn't go on buying, selling goods from each other, Nissan wouldn't manufacture their cars in Britain. That stuff is beginning to disappear, and I wouldn't expect him to speak on this again.
Oh, you wouldn't expect him to speak
No.
on this again? I mean, there was nothing in that speech, was there, where he indicated leaving would be better for the UK?
No, nothing. And again, I wouldn't expect that from an establishment figure. That case, that argument, is the one that some of us in politics and many in business are going to make and have started to make very effectively. You didn't, frankly, have the balls to put country before party.